Well, here's what happened: is that you may remember some weeks or months ago that the far right party in Germany, AfD. Uh, by the way, it's called far right, but it's not. It's far right relative to modern day commie European nonsense. Sorry, I got distracted because I can actually hear the echo of my own voice from your feed coming. Sorry, I got distracted because I can actually
One
hear the
second,
echo.
I'll take care of
Sorry, I got
that.
distracted.
Okay, I think we're okay now.
Yeah. Anyway, so they're not really what we would define as being right wing. Essentially, what makes them far right is their opposition to immigration. That's about it.
Hmm.
So to normal Europeans who've been raised to be incredibly communist, they basically see them as being modern day Nazis. But if you took someone from AFD and dropped them into American politics right now, we would consider them to the left of AOC. They're pretty bad shit. But whatever, they're the right wing for Germany, so
Right.
it is what it is. But the point is, because they're anti-immigration, they got 30% of the votes in the election that Germany had a couple of weeks or months ago, whenever it was. But because Germany runs a parliamentary system like other European countries do, um, normally if you win that much of the vote, when there's like 10 different political parties making up the parliament, you are the majority because you've got the plurality of the vote. You
Hmm.
have the largest amount out of all everyone who's a participant who could have received votes. You got by far the most. They blew everybody else the fuck out. But the thing is, because the German government, every single political party except for AfD, was so adamant that AfD not have a role in the governance of the country, they made sure that that happened by creating a super coalition of every other political party. So AfD got 30 some percent, so the other 60 some percent is every other political party in existence in the country, specifically to prevent AfD from being part of the governance of the country. So again, this was just a couple of weeks ago. Couple of weeks, months, whatever. Matter of fact, let me just fucking Google it. In June. Okay, so it was just fucking 5 months ago. And when they say that the German government has collapsed, it's because when you have a coalition made up of that many different people, um, groups that have that radically different of an idea of how the country should be governed, you're not supposed to have a coalition at large. Realistically, you should never have a coalition at all. Like in the UK, pretty much it's always just the Conservatives are in charge or Labour's in charge. And then when you have a coalition, it's like, okay, so we have Conservative plus this Nationalist Party decided that they wanted to join us, and we let them. Or you've got Labour, and they say, okay, we're making a coalition with the Greens because we want them on board. Whatever. But you don't always have to do that, and it's certainly never been a case of, well, we really didn't want the Conservatives to win, so we decided to have a coalition of literally every other party. That's complete insanity. So, since that new government was formed, they had their first actual problem that they needed to deal with, which immediately caused the coalition to collapse. Because a finance minister resigned, so then the government had to uh, debate over who was going to replace the finance minister. So the coalition completely collapsed. So because the coalition collapsed, presumably, well, if it's not a coalition, then it has to be made up where the government is made up of the party that got the largest amount of votes. Hey, wait a minute. Isn't that the group of Nazis that you guys hate? Uh-oh. So, Germany's panicking and thinking we need to call snap elections real quick just to handle this thing. But what are the odds that that's going to go their way, considering the last election was 5 months ago? Then they pulled the shit that no one wanted or asked for or voted for, specifically to subvert the will of the people. How do they think that's going to end up going? Probably not well. And again, all of this happened because a finance minister resigned. And not over some disgrace. He just wanted to retire.
Mm-hmm.
He was just stepping down. He's like, all right, so you guys have a replacement ready, right? And they're blah, 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 and fucking completely disintegrated. And it's hilarious because, you know, Europe's watching all this happen. Oh my God, this is horrifying. And I'm sitting here like, you know what? I think the U.S. election system's actually pretty damn good, you know? Because it sucks when you have a two-party system, when you feel like neither of the parties actually represent you, when you have the case of the uniparty.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have a guy like Trump come along who actually manages to take one of the parties and say, no, you need a separate identity, and then there actually is a separate identity, and you don't have to deal with this kind of bullshit happening, man, it feels fucking great. Like,
Yeah, thanks.
happy with how things are going right now.
And
Also, I've been reading a lot about the Milley situation because people have been talking about whether or not he should actually be court-martialed once Trump gets back into office. And man alive, I didn't know what he'd actually done. But what he did is that he called up a very high-ranking, influential member of the Chinese Armed Forces. After he contacted him, he effectively communicated to him that Donald Trump was no longer in command of the United States military. And that the United States military, in fact, had gone entirely rogue. And that they were not listening to anyone's orders. He told that to China. There's no reality where that's not treason. And the thing is, you know, if you're a civilian and you commit treason, sometimes it's just a prison sentence. Sometimes you go to the chair like the Rosenbergs. But when the Rosenbergs were convicted of treason, it was because they gave the Soviets access to the nuclear bomb, which created the Cold War and potentially threatened the annihilation of all life on Earth. So I think killing the two of them was pretty justified. But when you're in the military and you commit treason, execution is, like, it's mandatory. And that's the case for every single country on the planet.
yeah,
So, if we talk about court-martialing Milley for having committed treason, we're basically talking about should Trump have him killed. And you know what? I think that would be a great place to start.
sorry.
January 21st, the largest gibbet in world history is built in Washington, D.C. Man, that's based.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I've seen some of it, Austin. I don't know. To me, it doesn't feel real because, to me, generally speaking, the leftists, it's not like 2016. I think you can tell that they knew it was coming. I think 2016 truly blindsided them, but this, they were like, they had their guard up, so they're not quite as angry. They're not quite as shocked. it feels different than 2016.
I must use my nobility for good.
Oh, nice.
Say,
That's...
Max does not want to put gay people in camps. He just wants to reapply the 3/5 compromise.
Aha!
this one's important.
You know, if you
Right.
put them all in camps, the problem would take care of itself within like a year if you didn't let them have AIDS medication.
Let's head back.
No, stop
So,
making
you
me
know,
say
maybe...
things like that. I'm going to get in trouble.
Oh, Gilbert, you're gonna get in trouble again.
Well,
What do you think?
Six Flags, we still have more vote to count. Based on what I'm looking at, it seems like that'll end up not being the case by the end of the counting.
What?
Excuse me.
What wouldn't be the case? What's happening?
Washington is currently the only state in America that has gone to the left from 4 years ago on the presidential level. And they're not done counting. And I looked at it, and it seems like it's probably going to swing back to where it still is a rightward push.
Between that and, again, the substantially lower vote totals between Kamala and Biden, there really is no other reality than a great deal of people over the next 4 years are going to be talking about how obviously faked 2020 was. Because, I mean, even people who didn't think, Austin, since he's in chat, he said a number of times he didn't think the 2020 election was faked. But, I mean, just look at what's going on right now. Donald Trump had not only, like Joker said, 49 out of 50 states have moved even further to the right than they did in 2020. And it's possible all 50 of them do.
Yeah, I think that
Donald
ends
Trump,
up happening.
right. Donald Trump improved his performance in pretty much every single county in the entire country. And on top of that, Kamala got 15 million less votes than Biden. People say that, well, it's Biden got 81 million votes because people hate Trump so much. That's out the window because he just got reelected. People say he got 81 million votes because COVID caused more people to vote than ever. And while that's true, it's nowhere near that large because Donald Trump, by the time all the voting is finished counting, because he's only 2 million below right now, he's almost certainly going to match the total that he got in 2020. So without COVID, the same amount of people voted for Trump this year as they did 4 years ago. But there's 15 million less votes for the Democrat. Maybe if there were 3 or 5 million less votes, that could make sense. Between her being a terrible candidate and people not voting because they didn't have a, not everyone got a ballot because of COVID now. So that could make sense. But 15 million plus the massive rightward shift across the entire country?
Okay.
One of them is hard enough to accept, but having both of them, it was rigged.
Let's
There's
give it a shot.
there's no other explanation. They came up with millions of faked fucking votes. And that just goes to show you how badly Biden really got his ass kicked. If at the end of all this, 15 million fucking votes less, that's almost exactly how much Biden must have got last time. Because you look at 2004, Kerry got 59 million votes.
What do you want to do?
Then in 2008, record turnout, everyone voting for Obama in a landslide, he gets about 65 million. In 2012, he gets 65 million again, thereabouts. 2016, Hillary gets just about 65 million. 2020 suddenly shoots up Biden, gets 81 million.
Pardon?
Kamala right now is sitting at 66 million?
What do you think?
Yeah, and she'll get up a little higher than that, just.
Right.
But it might not be even as a share of the population, as good as Hillary because the population's gone up. I'm not sure, but
Right. It's gone up by about 8 million since then.
Mm-hmm.
Because the population, according to the most recent census, is 331 million, and it was about 323 in 2016. So yeah, because the population's been going up, it makes sense, as the vote totals went up over time.
Mm-hmm.
But one of these things is not like the other. You don't magically get 81 million votes when for the last 20 years you've been hovering around 60. Where the fuck did all those votes come from? And see, that's the funny thing is the Democrats right now, they're asking where did all those votes go? Republicans 4 years ago were saying where'd they come from? Now Democrats are asking where'd they go? And it's all like, I'm glad everyone's looking at this number and how suspicious it is.
I see. Now then.
Yeah, I didn't think Casey was going to lose. I thought McCormick was just not going to quite get over the hump.
How's it looking for Kyrie?
Well, the Jewish lady who is the current president of Mexico has refused to acknowledge Trump has won.
I think at this point, the United States should... Hold on, I gotta sneeze. All right. Sorry about that. Anyway, I think at this point the United States should not necessarily annex Mexico because we don't want them to just be part of the country forever, but we should seize Mexico by force and then turn it into the Mexican demilitarized zone. Occupy the country and just wage war against all the cartels and organized crime and all that shit. take them down, kill all the sons of bitches. Then once they actually have a country filled with normal people again, just take everybody who's Mexican here, even if they have been born in the United States for several generations, they don't even speak Spanish, and just send them all back. Say, here, you've all got your own country now, your own little ethno state. All the organized crime is gone. There's a giant wall that's going to go up. All of you fuck off now, please. just stay out. Ah.
No. Mitch McConnell gave all the money to Larry Hogan to get blown out in Maryland. If he splits that money between Rogers, Hovde, Lake, and Brown, they'd all win, and then you'd have 57 seats, which I thought was fucking impossible.
Yeah. Mitch McConnell is a complete retard, and I am genuinely astonished that after his fucking stroke out moments, not once, but twice, that anybody let this guy continue making fucking decisions.
All right.
Also, Titan reminds me, as the Bucks won a game tonight, the Bucks won a game before the Sixers did. Jesus.
Well, then
But the only reason why she did kinda sort of not so terribly in swing states was because of how much she campaigned in those states. And the states where she didn't put in effort, like California and New York and New Jersey, he fell off a cliff.
Yes.
And if you're
That
Democrat,
is
you better
completely
just
correct,
you better
yeah.
just pray she was a terrible candidate. Because if she's not a terrible candidate, then the country just doesn't like your party at all anymore, and you're dead for a while.
Yeah, and one of the things that's really important to consider is that as some states have been trending, more leftward over the years due to several different things, like Colorado, drifting more leftward, there have been other states that have been drifting more rightward, and they're infinitely more relevant on the electoral college scale than things like Colorado. Obviously, you never want to lose a state, so losing Colorado, well, gee whiz, that sucks. But gaining Ohio and Florida as safe red states that are just never going to vote Democrat ever, in exchange, is really fucking good. So, and then you see stuff exactly like you're saying, New Jersey within 5? Are you fucking kidding? How is that even possible? So if New Jersey becomes a swing state and starts trending rightward, holy fuck. Not only that, but they've been putting all this effort into making Texas blue, and it just fucking had insane numbers. Texas was less competitive than New York.
They've spent 8 years trying to pull Texas to the left, and all their work was undone in one night.
Exactly. I mean, it got so fucking wild that Starr County, 96% Latino, hasn't voted for a Republican since 1892. It's been 132 years since Starr County voted for a Republican. The last time was Benjamin Harrison. And they voted for Trump. 96% Latino.
Mhm.
Now, I think that all this effort that was spent on trying to court the ethnic vote, we don't need Kyle's vote because we're going to get Enrique and Jamal. Well, there's a hell of a lot more Kyles than there are Enriques and Jamals combined. That's right. And Even though Trump managed to do really well with Hispanic males, the states where he actually got a majority of them were deep red states where there was never any danger, like Texas and Florida.
Mhm.
In other states, while he made an improvement, he still got less than a majority there. And it just sends out one clear signal, Hey, we did great. In fact, we did better with these groups than any Republican within living memory. But it barely moved the needle. So I think it's okay to focus on being the party of white America and not thinking that that's a bad thing.
Right.
Donald
Donald Trump literally won the American Indian vote, by the way. By a
Yes, I
lot.
saw that too.
Mhm. So check this out. After this realignment happens in 2030, like
yeah,
you're gonna
that's going to be
gain.
devastating.
Yeah, you're gonna
Yeah.
gain 12. No, wait, that's more than 12. You're gonna gain
8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and then it should be 14, but fine, fuck it. I'll give them Arizona's a toss-up, whatever.
I don't think so, not anymore. He's gonna win it by more than 6 points. That's gonna take more than 4 years to turn around.
Fair enough. So, that being the case, then, yeah, 14. So, 14 is, well, the only swing state that I can remember offhand exactly how many electoral votes it's worth is Wisconsin, because it's the easy to remember 10.
Yeah.
So 14 is worth more than a Wisconsin.
Yeah, and Wisconsin loses 1, but so does Minnesota. Illinois loses 2. New York loses 3. Like, that opens up a scenario where a Democrat could win the Rust Belt and still lose the election. Like, they would need to
Yes.
also snatch up like Arizona and Nevada back or something like that.
Yeah. Let me fuck around with a couple of settings real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Also, because I live in California, some other Californians that I know have been sharing this because they're really happy about this. We still have a hell of a long way to go because Trump got 40% of the vote in California, which is still really good. But it's still only 40%. However, when you look at it in terms of this picture, that's a very promising sign.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
There's also another very promising sign. As of this moment, every race that has been called in California among district attorneys, so, there's still some that are ongoing, but as of this moment, every race that has been called for district attorneys in California that involved a George Soros-backed district attorney, those George Soros-backed district attorneys have all lost. So I hope that continues, but yeah. 4 years of unchecked rampant crime is apparently all it takes. It's awesome. So I went to 270 to win,
Mm-hmm.
and I hit reset the map,
Mm-hmm.
and it's already at 2024 actual instead of the polling map and everything, and it just shows we kicked the shit out of them. You love to see it. But anyway, so yeah, you can reset it by going to the polling map. So let me look at what you sent. So, -3, -2, -1, so we're at -6. Minus was -11, -12. Okay. So Harris, with 226 electoral votes, after this reapportionment thing that you were talking about, that's minus 12. So if she had won the exact same state that she won this time, she would have ended with 214 electoral votes. Either way, when you reset to the polling map, which has the 7 swing states, 214 would actually have made it so that even with the juggernaut of California, Harris still would have been polling in her quote-unquote safe states as less than Trump in his quote-unquote safe states. So what that means is when you look at the battleground states, after that reapportionment, the Democrats actually, for the first time in living memory, have less electoral votes before the battleground states are considered than the Republicans do.
Correct.
Not only that, but California drops below 50 electoral votes for the first time in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Which is also pretty huge.
Yeah. I mean, basically, what's happened, to my understanding, is a lot of California liberals have moved to Washington State, which is why Washington State's moving a little left. And a lot of the California conservatives have moved to Florida or Texas.
Yes. Yes, that's been what's happening. What I personally believe is going to happen within the next couple of years is that people are not going to focus on, we need to flip the big one. Instead, what they're going to focus on is we need to start moving to these battleground states because that's where the election is decided. So I really think that Georgia is going to see a huge growth in the next few years because it's not just what I said of moving to battleground states, but Georgia's economy is expected to grow a great deal over the next 5 years too because of new industries that they're opening up there. In addition, Georgia is very quickly becoming the second most popular place to film television and movies besides California. I'm not sure why, but there's a lot going on there. So they may see a bit of a population boom.
Well, I think what you really want to do is you want to do to Pennsylvania what they did to Ohio.
Yes, I completely agree. Especially on account of the fact that Pennsylvania is still so close because there's so much union labor there. And this election showed you very much that unions are ripe for the fucking taking. You know, because you already have union membership votes Republican, but the leadership is Democrat. It's all like, what we've got to do is if we can get these guys on our side, that's going to be huge. But
Time marches on, and the age of the new
fuck yeah,
is nearer.
that's great. Glad that he swept every single fucking battleground state. That is so awesome.
Which Nate Silver did point out today was the most common scenario that came up in his simulations.
Yeah, which is why he brought it up. And, you know, that's why, you know, I don't call him Nate Tupperware because, you know, that implied that, you know, he was so substandard that he doesn't even deserve to live up to his name of Silver. You know, we're demoting him. First it was Nate Bronze, then Nate Zirconium, Nate Zinc. And, you know, just down and down until he gets as far away from a precious metal as possible. But now we just call him Nate Crystal because, you know, he goes in the crystals. But the thing is, you know, he may have been a doubter and an unbeliever, but his model was fairly accurate. I think the problem, genuinely, is just that he couldn't force himself to admit that Trump was going to win. The signs were there, and he was completely correct in terms of how the win happened. He just didn't want to come out and say, guys, Donald Trump is going to win. However, as you mentioned yourself, it's the only time in the history of his models that Trump had ever been above 50%. So he was kind of trying to signal it. It's just he didn't want to take that last step. And I feel like if he just had the courage to do that, even though he would have initially been ostracized by all the people whose opinions he cares about for some reason, um, man,
Did you read Silver's article he posted the morning after?
no, I did not. But
It's
as I'm
not too
look,
long of a read. It's fun.
I just want to say this real quick because this is horrifying. Um, when I'm looking at 270 to win right now, the thing, and when I go to instead of 2024 actual, looking at the polling map, that polling map is the last set of polls received the day before election day, and you know how leans is like, okay, it's looking like they'll win it, but it's the least likely that they'll win
Yeah,
it, as
lean
opposed to
is
being right.
like
Yeah,
anywhere from 2 to 5 points. Yeah.
yeah. The following states were listed as lean because of the polls: Alaska, Kansas, Texas, Iowa, Ohio, and Florida.
Yeah. There's a lot of that going on.
There was so much coal in the last couple of days just to try to fucking psyop people, and every single one of those states were some of the biggest blowouts for Trump, and they have this shit at lean. That is hysterical. But yeah, the oh my god. It just clicked for me. The appropriation map for electoral votes. Texas is at 40 right now, California 54. -5, California goes down to 49. +4, Texas goes up to 44. Texas is almost worth as much as California. The dream has finally been achieved. We have our own superstate, just like they do. That's big time, man. You love to see it. But yeah, Dixie put in work for us this election, man. I've been listening to fucking Dixieland like pretty much since the election happened.
So yeah, I sent you the article he wrote. It's just a somewhat interesting read.
I'll check it out in a second.
Pardon!
Alright, let's see here.
Let me say it again. The town is safe now, thanks to you.
I heard you fixed up the hole in my shop's wall while I was gone. I could kiss you.
Why, 'twere no trouble at all. Your bonny wife had need of help, and we all have need of your shop.
Well, that may be, but I never knew a captain to be so generous.
My only wish is to render assistance in any way I can. Whatever wee matters I can take care of, I will. Even if they might not turn out as well as yours did.
What the hell? You bumped into me? Well, who could avoid those massive ears, you damn russant?
Looks like I need to go keep a brawl at bay. Hey, listen, both of you. Enough already. Sorry about that. Right tragedy for the town hero to see something so disgraceful.
I'm not bothered, but are you?
I'm asking ain't that thin yet. It's just that kind
Mm.
of manky scene has been more common lately. Neighbors coming to blows, good lads fighting.
Yeah.
Right in
Something tells me that all the bullshit that they tried putting him through over the last couple of years really didn't work out too good for him.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, there was so much coal and so much blackpilling and so much doubting. All of these people have to answer for that. These people who thought the election was over because Kamala is brat, because coconut meme, man.
Well, I'll say this. There are a lot of coal accounts on X that basically deal in hopium. And a lot of them basically all they just do is try to convince as many people as possible that Texas is in play or Florida's in play. And they make a ton of money off of it and they pull a lot of people in. So a lot of these people are just probably listening to the wrong people.
Yeah, for sure. I like this line though. I'll shut up about she should have picked Shapiro because it wouldn't have mattered when Harris lost every swing state. I'm still sitting here like, guys, there's
Hello?
no stores. What? You can't hear me?
No, okay, I can hear you now. You cut out for about 3 seconds there. You said,
Oh,
she said, I'm not going to talk about that she should have picked Shapiro when she lost, and then you cut out for a second there.
okay. So it was what I was saying is because I'm quoting his article. I'll shut up about she should have picked Shapiro because it wouldn't have mattered when Harris lost every swing state. So what I said after that was, am I the only one who remembers that, to be fair, it was just a leak? There's no source. There's no corroborating evidence. We don't have any hard actual proof. It was just a leak.
That's what I wanted to discuss.
But at this point now, I think we can pretty damn well state definitively that it happened. Shapiro was picked and turned her down. Why aren't people talking about that? Because, yeah, there's no proof that it happened, but there is proof that
We have a shared vision.
one of his staffers, because we watched it happen, one of his staffers leaked out a campaign commercial that they had made of Harris Shapiro, where he had gotten picked. And the premise was that they accidentally leaked that out to test to see what people were going to say, how they would react to it. But then, without, like a day later, before any returns had actually come in, she picks Walls, and it's like, what the fuck happened there? So like, well, oh, I guess she didn't want Shapiro. No, that's when the reports were coming out. She tried to pick him, and he said, I don't want to be on your ticket because I believe it'll hurt my ability to be reelected as governor. Straight up saying, you're going to lose, and I don't want you to take my political career down with you.
Mm-hmm.
Of course. I'd like to keep helping you.
That would be a great.
I suppose my gut is that a Whitmer-Shapiro ticket would have won a few of those swing states and probably the popular vote, but still not the Electoral College. He's correct. They still would have lost. They would not have won the popular vote. And while the swing states, they might have gotten Michigan and Pennsylvania out of that, they still lose in a landslide because, guys, we have to acknowledge now, when you run a woman, it's not going to work because you're Democrats. If you ran a woman as a Republican, it'd be a different story. But when you're heavily betting on getting minority voters to show up for you, and minority voters are from cultures that think that women make horrible leaders, so they're not going to vote for them out of principle, and then suddenly you're flabbergasted that Latino men broke for Trump when he's the guy who wants to deport them all, stop running a woman. How about that? It's not a comfortable thing to have to admit, but it's either that or you keep losing.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to see a woman president anytime soon unless there's just like this rock star that comes out of nowhere.
Well, if Kari Lake doesn't manage to win this one, running for president's about the only one she's got left. So,
Yeah.
but even better, bro. Think about all those dumbasses who said, "Oh, if only Nikki Haley won."
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God! Can you imagine? My God!
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine what would have happened if she was the fucking
Yeah.
candidate? Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
Austin, I think there are a lot of people who just vote for president and then they want to turn their brain off so they don't bother voting for anything else.
And that's why it's highly questionable what we're seeing in Arizona right now, where there are more votes for the Senate race than there were for president.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That doesn't make a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. I will be right back, guys.
You know.
All right, we're back. "34% of black men in Texas voted for Trump. More than 1/3.
Say it again? I didn't hear.
34% of black men in Texas voted for Trump.
Nice.
34.
Yeah, and that's another thing. I was saying this to you earlier, so now I want to say it for Chad here and on the stream. But the thing is that it seems that trying to court voters based off of their ethnicity is retarded. It's just not going to work. But what will work is the battle between the sexes. Men are more conservative, women are more liberal, and the trend is just diverging further and further and further as time goes on. This is where you win. This is where you actually get ethnic voters, is when you don't appeal to them as blacks, you don't appeal to them as Hispanics, you appeal to them as men. That's how you get them to come over. Because when you have a man versus a woman in the election, and it's for something incredibly important, and Kamala presents all the classic failures that women bring in terms of leadership position. Like, literally, this bitch, she gets blown the fuck out. So what does she do? She immediately cancels all of her public appearances for the next month and refuses to come out of her hole until 4 o'clock in the afternoon the next day. Why? Because she was probably up all night crying.
Or
And
really
you want to put
drunk.
that person in charge. Yeah, and you want to put that person in charge of the military? You want to put that person in charge of the nuclear codes? If Xi Jinping could stand in front of her and say to his translator and tell her that she looks fat today, and it'll send her into this fucking depression spiral, and all of a sudden she's handing over to China anything they want, like, how the fuck is that what you actually want to have in a president? And it's no surprise that the only people who actually thought that that was a good idea were women and gays.
Mm-hmm.
Like, according to the exit polls, what we got back is the 3 largest groups that voted for Kamala. At 93% black women. At 88% Jewish women. At 81% gay men regardless of ethnicity. If you take all of those people in the United States and combine them into one group, that makes up maybe 10% of the population. Most of that number being the black women.
What do you think?
Well, yeah, you can.
Why did...
Yeah, well, of the electorate, black people are about 10%, Hispanics are about 12%, I think.
Yeah, so black people being 10%, cut that in half, black women 5%. Jews are 2% of the population of the entire planet. They're not going to be a very large amount of the electorate when you look at only Jewish women here in the United States. And then gay men. You know, gays at the absolute max being as kind as possible. That's 5% of the population. Gay men specifically would then be another fraction of that. So like I said, there's doing the heaviest possible lifting here. That's maybe 10% of the American population. If you take all 3 of those numbers and combine them together, I still doubt it. And black women are doing most of the heavy lifting there. But that's your fucking muscle? Whereas, like, whites in this country make up 60% of the population. Cut that in half. White men, 30% of the entire population of the country. And that's the muscle doing the heavy lifting of the Republican Party voter base. That seems like a much better voting bloc to be targeting. And yet, when Trump thanks all the different groups that gave him this victory, he did not mention whites, whether men or women. He didn't say thank you to all the whites in the United States. He didn't say that. Of course he didn't. But holy shit, if anyone deserved to be thanked.
This is an amazing tweet right here.
All right, I'll check it out in a second. Based. You love to see it. Okay, what the hell am I doing? Just reload. There we go.
Did you know? It's time.
Pardon?
What do you think? Hmm? Whoa.
You know, as I'm sitting here, you know, listening to Dixie on repeat and seeing other people praising the South for this election result.
Right.
One thing I have to think of, and I gotta say, this is probably one of the most bizarre things I could ever imagine seeing. The amount of people who live here in the United States who are themselves ethnics, who they may be first or second generation ethnics. They're American citizens, fine, whatever. Some of them even born here. Okay, fine. But then they start talking about how the South lost the Civil War from the perspective of thinking that they're on the side of the Union. And you see this a lot because it's essentially a proxy for just being able to say I hate white people by just shitting on, you know, the Confederacy and all this. And I'm sitting there like, your family has been in this country for maybe 30 years. You were born here, but your parents came here like 2 or 3 years before you were born here, and before then your ancestors had lived in like Cambodia for centuries. And you're gonna sit there and Sherman post? Like, I'm so glad that we tore all through Georgia and burned down all those rebel scum. Like, what the fuck? Makes no sense to me at all.
Excuse me. I have no idea, Austin. I don't know how that part of Washington votes because I don't live there.
I've seen the state of the race with my own eyes, ladies, gents, and mad malcontents. If you wanted an update...
Oh, how'd Trump do in your county?
Let me see here. Okay, let's see here. Well, it's worth noting that not all the vote is in yet, but it looks like he's going to lose my county by about 10.5, which is about what he lost it to Hillary by. So the more things change,
yeah,
the more they stay the same.
Austin says, I absolutely love how Mega Bootlickers primaried Butler because she impeached Trump, but Joe Kent is now a 2-time loser in the district that was red. Well, see, the thing is, Austin, is that if it's somebody who impeached Trump, it is by definition not red. Just because the voters themselves voted Republican, that person isn't Republican, and they're not siding with the Republicans. So that person deserves to get primaried, and people in or whatever's going on there. You know, there could be any number of reasons why they're not voting Republican anymore. But
Well, for the most
the
part,
GOP's got nobody to blame but themselves at that point.
again, the main problem is we have a lot of transplants from California moving here. So we are having a hell of a time turning back to the right. It's probably not going to happen for like 20 years. Like,
Yeah, not only that,
it's
but there's
conceivable California will be to the right of Washington this cycle.
more than likely, if trends continue.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to say if they will or not, because while on the one hand, people want to move further to the right now because the issues that the right wing is concerned about and basing their platform on are becoming more and more popular. However, you don't know if it's a case of that or if it's just Trump is actually that popular that he's dragging everybody across the finish line, but the moment he's not on the ballot, all that shit goes right back.
Right.
I can tell you this though, is that it's exactly like you said, that McConnell dumped a shitload of points into a shitload of money into a pointless race in Maryland when he could have been giving that funding to actually winnable campaigns in other places.
Yeah.
The Republican Party is really good at doing that. There are so many different races that are happening for the House here in California that Republicans are, at least as of this moment, right now, barely losing.
Yeah,
And
I've been
it's all
monitoring
like,
that. Yeah.
right. And the problem with every single one of those is that all those guys were told that it wasn't winnable, so they just didn't get any funding. And it's like, you pieces of shit. You know, imagine if you weren't pissing money away on this fucking nonsense in Maryland. Imagine if you weren't pissing money away on fucking running up the score in
Well, I don't think they could have. Well, Ohio would be an example of that, but I don't think they could have known that that race was not going to be that close.
I know,
Like,
but still,
I would not have expected it to be a blowout like that.
District 3 is Centralia. That is red. No excuse other than MAGA bootlickers flipped a red district blue. Austin, you can't say that because this election proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that Donald Trump is far more popular than people thought. So if folks were voting based off of liking Trump, aka they were the MAGA bootlickers that you're talking about,
Well,
then
yeah,
he would have won there anyway. Now, look, if somebody gets primaried, it's because the people who actually vote Republican don't want to support that person. But Joker just got through telling you that you got a ton of California transplants over there, so it's really difficult to say whether or not those people will continue to actually vote Republican. You can't sit there and blame Trump supporters for turning a red district blue when that literally has not occurred anywhere in the country. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You know, you're blaming the wrong thing here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what you're talking about is true. A red district has gone blue, but you're blaming the wrong thing for it. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. It does look like we're pretty much guaranteed to get the House majority at this point, but it won't be a very big one. So it should be all right. Like, if you can get up to like 221, probably that's okay. You can get through most things that way. Very few House Republicans are going to have the testicular fortitude to go after Trump right now, because every single House Republican that voted to impeach him last time immediately got primaried. So
not only that, but Donald Trump has the mandate of all mandates right now. This is the biggest ass kicking Republicans handed down in 40 years. And if you're in the House, you have to get reelected every 2 years. Every midterm is just your actual election for you. No, there's no safe period where you can fuck around like you get sometimes with senators. So any congressman who decides to break ranks here is going to get fucked.
Mm-hmm.
So I completely agree with you. The House should be fine even if we only win by one. Because
Mhm.
I mean, when you think about everything that's happened over the last couple of years, when votes didn't go our way, it was because people were intentionally fucking it from the start, not because, oh no, that person went sideways at the very last second. And same thing in the Senate for that matter. You know,
Mhm.
it's just a continuous tug of war between Trump and the establishment is all that's ever been going on.
Yeah, I think the
And
Washington State GOP is just kind of dead at this point, and it really does remind me why people are moving to red states to retire and stuff, and wondering if something like that ends up happening to me. I don't know. I never really paid it much mind, but it's gotten to that point now where it's so bad.
I mean, I know that you have a lot more love for your state than I do. I fucking despise California, and I've been fantasizing about leaving this place
Sorry,
my
Chum,
entire
don't
life.
kiss the choir.
And even though I spent only a
Ready?
short time outside of California, those months were
You'll not have long to
really,
wait now.
really nice.
Mm-hmm.
With all that
So,
said, can't help but
what I
wonder
can
what
tell you
voices
is that
take this.
you'll miss Washington because Washington's pretty much always going to be home to you because it's
Mm-hmm.
the only home that you've known.
He's still gallivanting across the
Right.
But
land.
man,
Thinks you
you're just
missed
going to
him.
have such a higher quality
And
of
yet,
life just in terms of the
and
peace and
yet,
serenity that you
even
have
without a
that
full
doesn't exist
entry,
for you right
his
now.
database is still
Right.
growing. Bound to have his eminence
So it's a
warden
worthy trade-off.
grinding his teeth, that. For now, let's enjoy the show.
Well, I know Austin, and I'm not saying that you hate him. I'm trying to say that you're blaming the wrong thing, you know? It's not Trump supporters who are responsible for flipping a red district blue, you know?
Mm-hmm. So we have one random house race in Colorado not called. Got one in Arizona that hasn't been called, and then everything else is just on the West Coast or in Alaska. I'm using Decision Desk, by the way. I think they have the best information.
Now that we've won again, I don't know about you, but I really, really, really hope that we rebuild those statues of Lee that have been torn down.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously the famous one, but especially
Watch out, Louis.
every single statue that's been torn down. Melt down the fucking George Floyd statues and make Robert E. Lee statues out of them.
I hope it won't be as bumpy as last time.
I like it.
Oh no, it'll be a sight smoother. But you've got wings. What are you fussing for?
Oh, there it is. Should have known the fatigue would hit eventually. About time I got some sleep. Highs, mate. Why are you on my bed? You're positively miniature, man. There are plenty of other places fit for you to sleep.
I mean, the thing is, you look at the actual map of just at the presidential level of America. It is kind of crazy how, as of right now, close we are to literally just having the West Coast and the Northeast Coast be blue and everything else is red. Because the only thing stopping that are Illinois, which swung hard right this time, Minnesota, which is also within 4 points, and New Mexico, which is now also going to be like 6 points or so. And then Colorado is like the one state that isn't going to flip red anytime soon. But you are so close to literally owning the entire middle of the country, and every single Democrat state is either a coastal state or Hawaii.
And it gets even funnier when you think about how that reality turns into, you know, that picture. I'm sure you've seen it posted a lot in the last 48 hours of the blue states being America, and then all the states that vote for Trump is dumb fuckistan.
Oh yeah, I remember
And it's
seeing
all
that 8
like,
years ago.
yeah, let's just wait until exactly like you said. It's just the West Coast, and then like New England.
What is he dreaming
Right.
about?
And then the entire rest of the country, dumb fuckistan. It's like, okay, yeah, dumb fuckistan. That's 40 out of the 50 states, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Totally don't have a mandate here, by the way. Totally not the silent majority, by the way. Oh, they're mad. You can smell it.
Mm-hmm. Like, I'm just trying to figure out what state you attack in 2028. Is it Virginia or is it New Jersey? I feel like it's either Virginia or New Jersey.
New Jersey would be an extraordinary coup and a shot across the bow to send the signal that things are changing very, very hard.
Mm-hmm.
However, Virginia, I think, is a lot easier because of just how much they align with what we're trying to do. And again, if you take the vote totals of West Virginia and Virginia, and you combine them together to create the state of Virginia that existed before 1863, then Trump wins that state.
Right.
Like these.
Super close there. But New Jersey might be, even though it's very close, it might just be a little bit too out of reach for 2028.
Yeah. I'd say Illinois, but it feels like you never actually get Illinois. You just get close, and you never actually get to the destination because of Chicago.
Yes, that's correct. Because you need to keep in mind, Chicago is... It's hard to believe this because of just how much political corruption there is throughout the entire country, but Chicago is without a doubt the most politically corrupt place in the entire country. If voter fraud had been eliminated from every other city in the nation, Chicago would still find a way to do it.
Let's see.
Let us hurry.
This place.
Oh, hey!
Ha-ha! Tally-ho then!
And dying Dixie, away, away, way down south in Dixie.
Runner sets off toward the exhibition of the brave. Their destination, Port Royal, capital of the Principality of Oceania. A world unknown to them. What will they accomplish?
So, for the, fucking 5th year in a row, Garrett Archer controls the universe.
Can you hear me?
What to pick?
Another thing about Virginia that makes it so much more possible to actually flip it back is that it's Northern Virginia where all the swamp creatures who commute into DC live is the reason that they vote Democrat now. So literally, if you just manage to convince the swamp, Virginia goes red if Trump manages to shave down the bureaucracy, like people are hoping, like Elon's been saying he's going to cut down the waste like he did at Twitter, if you shave down the bureaucracy, that is the swamp creatures who commute to D.C. but live in Northern Virginia. That is them. So if you get rid of that shit, and then because Loudoun County has the highest median salary of any county in the United States. It's the richest county in the United States.
Right.
So, because of that, obviously, property values are sky high. It's expensive to live there. So if you don't have your highly lucrative bureaucratic lobbying job anymore because it's been eliminated by Elon, you have to go somewhere else. You have to go back. So literally, as long as Trump does what he's actually already intending to do, and the whole reason he brought Elon on board in the first place, Virginia should already flip red, and we don't even have to actually attack it. So if that's the case, you should probably focus on New Jersey then, because do your job. Virginia's already there.
The wildlife retreats to safety before the sunlight fades, leaving only death.
All you got to do is get the swamp creatures to move away, and they'll do that when their job's gone.
Swells in their hearts.
Yeah. I feel like Minnesota's another one that
JD
you're never
Vance
actually going to get. You're just going to compete, but never actually win it.
Yeah, and you can't just blame the Somalians for that either, because you look at the Senate race, Trump only lost that state by like 4 or 5 points, whatever it is now.
Mm-hmm.
But the Senate race there, the Democrat won by 16. So Minnesota, and this is funny because I've seen a lot of coping retards attacking JD Vance on Twitter over the last 48 hours. They've routinely been saying things like JD Vance was the least popular candidate on the ballot this election. And they're trying to say that, like, you know, JD Vance sucks, fuck you. And I'm sitting here like, look, Tim Walz was on the ballot as Kamala's vice president. And his home state of Minnesota, Trump only lost Minnesota by 4 or 5%, but the Senate candidate, the Democrat, won by 16 points, which means there's no other way to deduce this. It's the only thing it could mean. In Walz's home state, there were a shitload of people who voted for Trump and then Democrat down ballot after that.
Yeah.
Speaking of,
So they're going to sit there and say that J.D. Vance was the least popular person on the ballot?
Which is it's silly to even suggest that now. I mean,
Right. And that's what I've been telling them. I'm all like, because they've been saying this in the last 48 hours. These aren't old posts I'm responding to. These are people like, well, J.D. Vance was the least popular, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you realize he won, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, what happened on Tuesday needs to make people reconsider their assumptions. Like, another big one is that I've seen a lot today and yesterday is I don't understand Kamala dominated him in the debate. If that was true, then she wouldn't have lost like she did. So, no, she didn't.
Yeah, demonstrably so. It's like, okay, here's what I want you to do if you believe that she dominated him in the debate. I want you to, without looking it up, tell me anything, any quote of hers from the debate. Go ahead. Typically, they can't fucking do it, but you know what they can do? This is what everybody can do. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. They can quote at least one thing that Trump said in that debate. I didn't even watch the fucking debate. I just watched highlights. And I know they were eating the dogs, they were eating the cats. That's what a debate is. It is about mimetic imprints in the populace's mind. Because you're not trying to make an argument or anything anymore. I don't understand. Kamala dominated him in the debate. What is the debate for? A debate is there to convince people to vote for you. If she got blown the fuck out, by definition, she didn't dominate it. My God. And exactly like you said, that people need to re-examine their beliefs because of what happened on Tuesday. I have said this so much, I was copy-pasting it on Twitter when I was trolling people this morning. I was like, if you really think this, I highly suggest you to look at the election results and continue to do so until you realize why you're wrong. I copy-pasted that so many fucking times today because people keep saying the most outlandish shit. J.D. Vance was the least popular candidate out of anyone on this ballot. Really? Because he won? I don't understand. Kamala dominated him in the debates. Really? Because she lost?
Like, it's possible that she did dominate him in the debate, but then she wouldn't have the worst case scenario happen to her on election day. So either she didn't win the debate, or debates mean absolutely nothing now, and talking about them is wasting time because it's not meaningful. Like, by definition, unless the goal in a debate is not to increase your chances of winning the election, which is obviously not true.
Right. There's just so much retardation coming out from these people. You know? I mean, what if Tim Walz runs for president and then impregnated his mistress? What?
I mean, that would probably win him a lot of votes because it would convince people that he's not gay, I guess.
Exactly. Oh man, they need the paternity test. Me personally, I'd just be surprised that his Johnson works. I mean, didn't he need to watch someone else impregnate his wife for him?
Yeah. And like I said, I have my coal list on X. So I have a lot of dipshit lefty accounts on a list that I can check, and it basically acts as a timeline for just those accounts. And they're saying the exact same things the right said for people on the right said 4 years ago about how these results don't make any sense. These results don't make any sense. How did these votes all disappear? How did it's the same shit.
Right. You love to see it.
It reminds you that there's nothing special about them.
Right. Also nothing human about them either. That's right, I said it.
Oh, John Edwards. Okay. I hear you, right, guy. I remember John Edwards.
Oh, John Kerry's guy, yeah.
And he tried to run for president in 2008 and was like the third wheel with Hillary and Obama.
Yeah, that was funny.
I remember one of the debate questions for him was, how do you feel knowing that most of your support is coming from people who refuse to vote for a woman or a black person? And I was like, man, that's a really, there's not much answering that in a way that will make you look good, is there?
Yeah. Wow. That's incredible. Man, do you know what his answer was?
It was something like, what was it? It was, if somebody's voting for me because they're a racist or a sexist, then I don't want their vote.
I'm afraid I have some bad news. That's fucking good.
Senator Frankly.
On the one hand, we are talking about Hitler versus Stalin here, but still a memorable clip. I will remember John Edwards for that as well.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching that. That one was fucking good. He's all like, you've been absent from the Senate so much that the first time I've ever met you is when you shook my hand. on the debate stage here tonight.
Yeah.
And I'm the president of the Senate. I'm supposed to be there every single time they're in session. You've been a senator for 2 years. What the fuck, bro?
Say whatever you want to say about Dick Cheney, and I will say them, but he cooked that debate, man.
Yeah, that was an
all-timer.
absolutely. That was a masterclass.
I mean, I don't think there's any doubting that Dick Cheney is extremely smart. He just often uses his powers for evil.
Correct. He's an extremely capable person. He just, like, what it reminds me of is LBJ. I've said multiple times, I have a lot of respect and admiration for LBJ as an American and as a hard worker, because he was probably the hardest working president that we've ever had. This guy's work ethic was legendary. He literally invented a new method of sleeping in order to get more done throughout the day, which is so mind-boggling I can't even conceive of it. I mean, what did I just say? He invented a new method of sleeping. Who the fuck does that? It's unheard of. The thing is just like you said, he used his powers for evil, which sucks. Because he's caused irreparable damage to the United States. He was president 60 years ago, and we're still cleaning up that mess. And it's not because he was incompetent. He achieved exactly what he set out to do. He was just evil.
That reminds me.
So, you know, you can look at him and respect him and admire him because you're like, man, I wish I could get half as much as he got done throughout his life. Done in mine. My God. What an incredible work ethic. What an incredibly hard worker. Just an exceptional man. Just evil. And, you know, I feel the same way about Dick Cheney. I look at him, I'm like, man, what a capable guy. If only he was on the side of justice instead of being a complete piece of shit. Well, you can't have it all.
I know that he's obviously a snake, but Nick Fuentes coming up with "Your Body, My Choice" is pretty keynote.
Yes, it was quite good, I agree. Still not saving him from the crystals, of course, but gave me a hearty chuckle. Damn it, really? Well, that sucks.
Six Flags, I don't... I mean, it would make those conferences much more interesting, Six Flags, but I don't know if that's what America needs right now.
But I'm a little involved in a boss battle. I didn't see what he said.
What would you think of Alex Jones as press secretary?
It would be extremely funny. I would love every second of it, but exactly like Joker said, in terms of it would very, very deeply harm the legitimacy of what we're trying to do. However, if we just embraced it on the grounds of like the entire process as a goddamn clown show, you know, I can't hate on that. But it might make things more difficult for us than it needs to be.
We don't need distractions right now because we will probably lose the House in 2 years because that's how this works. So you've got 2 years to basically run a train on the country. If you know, not literally. You guys know what I'm saying. Although, in a way, there is some truth to that statement, running a train.
Exactly. And the train has no brakes. But yeah, if it's this close right now, when there's really no reason for it to be, the House race, And like you said, it's almost a guarantee because it always happens. You know, the incumbent party always loses the House in the midterms. You know, there's probably going to happen to us too.
That's usually how it goes.
So, you know, you got 2 years to do anything that you want with one of the greatest and clearest mandates in the history of the country. And then the remaining 2 years after that, you just rule by executive decree because fuck them all to death. Round them all up, pull down their pants, and have sex with them until their spirits leave their bodies. That is the agenda. Gonna fuck them all to death.
Hey.
Thick, fragrant bush.
Got him.
speaking.
Yeah, I read one post actually that said Donald Trump unfortunately is going to mandate that every woman grows a thick, fragrant bush. It was that fucking guy Howling Mutant. I was like, God, half the time I want to block this guy. Half the time I could never imagine not being able to read his posts. What a character.
You've probably already seen this one today because it's been making the rounds, but we are starting to see videos like that, which is what I was waiting for. It didn't feel real to me because I didn't see the meltdowns, but the meltdowns I've been seeing lately.
Through the excavation of magma crystals by migrant workers. The work was hard, but the miners were hardy and spirited, and the promise of riches lured many here. In its time, it may have rivaled Brylehaven. However, the promise of strong magma drew forth the humans. As tragedies climbed, it became a ghost town. Now only the threatening glimmer of the crystals remained. And with the promise of abandoned riches followed the thieves. For some reason, though, they all seemed to scurry home empty-handed, gripped by fear.
This is...
Did they think that wouldn't happen? What, oh god, women are stupid. That's the first time I've seen that though, yeah.
Well, does it help the economy
Holy
if more people
shit.
have to buy TVs?
I am so happy. Even Joe Rogan is starting to talk about the voter fraud in 2020. Oh man. His great tweet, 7 million views. 10 shocking stories the media buried today. Number 10, Joe Rogan raises serious questions about Biden's 81 million votes in 2020. Look at the difference in how many people voted for Biden in 2020. It's unprecedented. It's way higher than any other time since 2012. Look at where the number is. It's all like 65 million votes for Democrats in 2012, 2016, and 2024. So that's all the same every fucking time except for in 2020. Then it suddenly goes way the fuck up. And then he's posting the same picture that you've seen a ton.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Joe, there's no going back for Joe. He will never be allowed to be called a liberal ever again after this. He is now Super Hitler. I'm sorry, but he's our guy now.
I just hope that we get a decent Senate Majority Leader in the next few months here. It's
would
starting
indeed
to
be nice.
sound like it's not going to be great, though.
No. Everything okay?
Right.
You. That's why.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey!
So,
Here.
As the sun sinks below the horizon, the Gauntlet Runner arrives in
Oh wow! I'm surprised Maxine Waters is still alive. So it must have been a whole bunch of other of those.
warmly enveloping them in its light.
Yeah, isn't she still in office?
Yeah, apparently she's still alive. I just stopped talking because I got an ad break. That's
Oh.
why.
I should not have an ad break. I'm looking at
So
my...
if it's just for me, then I
Mhm.
will. Here, how about this? If you can hear me right now, check in chat. Say that you don't have an ad break. All right, nobody checked in, so
Okay, maybe
maybe
there
they
is.
got an
That's
ad.
really weird. I think they finally called Nevada. They called Nevada... well, Decision Desk called Nevada a while ago. But Nevada has some dumbass rule where you can turn in ballots for 3 days after the election. So maybe they're not legally allowed to call it until that 3-day period is up. But I don't see anything about Nevada getting officially called, personally. I'm looking. No, I don't see nothing yet. Not that it matters. It's obviously going to go his way.
Since Ryga is responding to you,
Mhm.
obviously he can hear you. So I'm assuming they can hear
Yeah.
me. They just didn't want to check in. So what I would say is, the thing to keep in mind about 2020 is that it was probably the third closest election in American history, even with the obviously cooked votes. You know, if Biden got, you know, anywhere from 10 to 21 million fraudulent votes, and he only won Pennsylvania by 60,000,
He won well, he effectively won the election by 44,000 votes because that was his combined margin in Arizona, Wisconsin, and Georgia.
that is astonishing. And yeah, I was going to bring those up too, but yeah, that's even crazier. So if he had anywhere from 10 to 21 million fraudulent votes, and he effectively won the election by 44,000 votes, then obviously Trump wins if it wasn't for the massive amounts of fraud that took place. So we've got to talk about that. You know? And that's the funny thing, is that if Democrats had just let it happen, Trump would be on his way out right now. It's very difficult to say about whether or not the Republicans would have won, because if Trump wins his re-election in 2020, Pence remains his vice president. Pence is a slimy scumbag who obviously is not good for the country, and was establishment Republican. And the other neocons that were making up the administration, these are guys who had maintained positions of power. So aside from the fact that Trump would be on his way out right now, they'd be fine, they being, of course, the Democrats, going forward now to enact whatever agenda they wanted because MAGA has essentially been shunted to the side. You had your day in the sun, great, good for you, but there's no air anymore. Now there is, with J.D. Vance. Plus, another reason that it would have been a good idea to just let him have it is the economy's been dog shit for the last 4 years, and while a great deal of that is because of what Joe's done, at the very beginning, it wasn't good in the first place because of the after effects of everything that we did during COVID. Trump would still have to deal with that. Obviously, the belief is that Trump would have handled that a hell of a lot better, but it still would have been difficult. You know, there's all sorts of shit that would have gone on during the last 4 years. It still would have happened if Trump was in office. It would have harmed his legacy, made it more likely the Democrats would have won just now, and that the movement as a whole is essentially, you were under siege for a while, but it's over now. Instead, they did what they did, and they tried like hell to get him to fuck off and go away, but it didn't work, and things are a hell of a lot worse for them now than it would have been 4 years ago if they just let it happen. So in retrospect, I'm super fucking happy that they rigged it. I just want them to come out and admit it because I, want everybody to know and acknowledge the fact that I was right, they were wrong, and I won. Because I'm a vindictive little asshole like that. But, yeah, like, Trump blew Biden the fuck out. If you've got anywhere from 10 to 21 million fraudulent votes and Biden basically wins by 44,000, Trump blew him the fuck out. And that's another thing that sucks, is that we were robbed that.
But I think this timeline's better than the other timeline that you just described, so I'm not terribly down about it at this point, you know what I mean?
Right, exactly. Because that's the greatest concern with Donald Trump, is that we have this incredible possibility to move our country forward in a wonderful new direction. And the thing is that Donald Trump is one man. And if the movement cannot survive him not being in charge of it, then the movement can't survive. Because even if he stays alive until his dying day, eventually he'll go. He's human. And then what do we do? But if he'd actually won his re-election 4 years ago with that fucking snake in the grass as his VP, no ready heir apparent, neocons left, right, and center telling him who to pick for his cabinet, fucking everything up for everybody. That fuckwit John Bolton was still running around. Like, Gavin Newsom will almost certainly run, yes, because California has term limits on their governors. So unless he wants to run for Senate, there's nothing really that he can do other than run for president. And he's done a lot of dumb shit as governor that only makes sense if he's trying to make himself appealing for a presidential run, that he can point to that later on and say, look what I did here.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is that he should be fucking terrified if he wants to run for president after what just happened. Because unless the next 4 years are a catastrophe for Donald Trump, anybody who runs in 2028 as a Democrat is just going to get fucking slaughtered. Especially, Newsom may not even have a chance to do it if the Democrats learn their lesson in a way that makes it so that they could possibly win. If they look at what happened and say, the far left has actually ruined our party, we need to scale this back and move more to the right to join the rest of the country, Newsom wouldn't be able to run. This guy's extremely far left because Gavin Newsom is responsible for making it so that the sale of a gasoline-powered vehicle in the state of California 10 years from now, so not right now, but 10 years from now, the sale of a gas-powered vehicle in the state of California will be illegal because of Gavin Newsom. And that's the kind of dumbass shit that he did specifically so that he could point to that when he runs for president and say, look what I did. But that shit's going to age like milk. Because imagine now this dumbass is trying to appeal federally, and he says that shit, hey, look, I did this when I was governor of California. Don't you want to have a United States where it's illegal to purchase a gas-powered vehicle?
Right.
How well do you think that's going to go over with farmers?
Okay, one second. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back.
No, all right.
But yeah, another thing I keep seeing over the last few days is she ran such a great campaign, and it's like if she did, she wouldn't have had the worst case scenario happen to her on election day. Like, if she ran a great campaign, it would have been more
Right.
competitive than that.
Yeah, these people are treating it like she lost one of the closest elections in history. She's not Richard Nixon in 1960.
Mm-hmm.
There's no coming back from this. This is the biggest ass kicking that's been handed down by a Republican in 40 years. This is the closest to a 49-1 blowout that we can get in the modern United States. Matter of fact, if you pull up those maps that say if only white people voted, just like back in the 80s when whites were like 80% of the electorate, if only white people voted, then yeah, Trump probably would have won 49 states.
Even DC swung a couple points to the right.
Exactly. Like, even though the Democrats continued their streak of having at least one state in the country where they win every single county within that state, two things happened that were astonishing in this election. Is number one, the Republicans had more states than the Democrats where they won every single county within that state. Democrats had one, Massachusetts. Republicans had two, Oklahoma and West Virginia.
Hmm.
The thing that was amazing is that usually the state that they win every single county in is Vermont. And they actually Republicans won some counties. Donald Trump won some of the counties in Vermont.
Mm-hmm. She really did not do well in, like, the northeastern white liberal group, which I thought would be her strength.
Which goes even more to show that, again, if only white people voted, Trump probably wins every single state. Like, holy fuck. Honestly, the only one he probably wouldn't is Washington, like you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
He just kicked the shit out of her.
I do think Biden would have done worse, though. After thinking about it, I think Biden might have lost New Jersey.
Yeah.
Yes.
Probably would have been more competitive in Minnesota, though.
True.
Such a fuck up.
Governor of Massachusetts says her state will not assist with deportations, and she will protect the illegals in her state, which I'm pretty sure can get you thrown in jail. So these...
Right. Number
should be
one, it's not
interesting.
up to her. Number two, what you just said is illegal. So if Trump wants to initiate the second Operation W back, let's fucking go. He's going to jail. I'm going to jail.
And now the first woman Republican, first woman chief of staff ever is a Republican. Susie Wiles will be the first female chief of staff ever.
What should we do?
Is that good or bad? I want to say bad because a woman.
Well, she's the one who ran Trump's campaign this time, and she did a really good job. Like, this was Trump's best campaign yet, I think, even better than 2016. And certainly better than 2020. So she deserves to be rewarded for that.
I see.
She's not the one who said we're gonna get Jamal and Enrique, right?
I don't think so. I don't think so, no, because everybody I listened to during the election cycle said that Susie was doing an excellent job. And they would not have said that if she was pursuing something like that.
Why, that's... Well then.
Kamala's getting outperformed by a ton of Democrats down ballot, too, so she's probably just a really weak candidate.
So,
Certainly.
all right. So yeah, you said it was Susie Wiles, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that quote, the Jamal and Enrique thing, it was said by Matt Gaetz, and Susie Wiles did echo it.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah.
Why would Matt Gaetz
I mean,
say that, though? That's weird. I'm surprised.
I don't know. The campaign was good, but at the same time, I feel like the campaign turned around when you started listening more to Barron.
And I guess you could say Corey Lewandowski, who joined the campaign late, but...
Yeah.
Like, I do think Susan really helped him keep on message pretty much the whole time. I think that's relatively impressive. So, I'm down with it. And again, chief of staff, that's not even like a secretary position, right?
Yeah.
I don't
Also, we can't deny the incredibly positive impact that JD Vance had on this whole thing too.
Mm-hmm.
Because since JD is from Ohio, he was the guy who really started pushing to Trump the Haitians are eating people's pets thing.
Yeah, by the way, that area of the country swung 6.2 points to the right, I think. Springfield.
Yeah. I'm not at all surprised. That's pretty much a guarantee.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, but we don't intend to lose either.
Ooh, big talk. Well,
Frosty morning, look away, look away, look away, Dixieland. Oh, I wish I was in Dixie, hooray, hooray. Dixie's land, I'll take my stand, live and die in Dixie.
And there's one more thing I wanted to ask you about that you may or may not have heard of today, but you might find this very amusing. So, you know how Kamala's campaign outraised Trump 3-1? Like, she got $1 billion, he got like 380 million. So, despite getting $1 billion in funding and only having like 107 days to campaign, they ended their campaign $20 million in debt.
What kind of genius loses $1 billion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
But isn't that just perfect? A woman sweeps onto the scene and spends money like 3 times faster than any candidate in history. Somehow manages to blow over $1 billion in less than 4 months.
Oh yeah. I mean, if people think the debt crisis is bad now, just imagine if that bitch actually won. Oh my god.
And by the way, a few people have pointed out, it is not going to be necessarily easy to get $20 million right now for her.
I promised them all I'd become
Like, she's not some uber 1%er like somebody like Obama is now. Obama could maybe take care of that.
That's a good point. That's a good point, man. She's gonna have to suck a lot of dick to
like, if you're somebody like Soros,
yeah.
would somebody like Soros even want to take care of that? Probably not. He gets nothing out of it.
Yeah, and he damn sure ain't getting that money back neither. The only person who could even maybe consider doing that would be if Gavin himself comes across and says, okay, I'll get the money for you. In exchange, when we make you governor, you have to do everything that I tell you and just be my puppet.
Hack and slash.
That's nothing.
Come. Not this one.
My aim is sure. Why are you so strong, damn you? But this is where the real fight begins. Get ready to...
I've seen so much cope over the last 48 hours of people saying, I feel bad for Melania. She has to pretend that she loves this dude for 4 more years. I'm like, you guys are genuinely retarded. If she didn't love him, the last 4 years when he wasn't president, when he got arrested, when he got shot, when he got convicted and was about to go to jail, any of those times would have been perfectly good times for her to leave him. If she doesn't love him, why the fuck didn't she do it? If you're gonna sit there and say, oh, poor Melania, I feel so bad for her, she has to pretend she loves him now. Like, and it's always the most fucking hideously disgusting people who are single, by the way, who say that shit. Like, my god, bro.
Some darker arts.
They've dropped your defenses.
We're not out of this yet.
Much thanks.
That's neat. My thanks. Sword
It
master.
makes me feel angry.
Hack and slash.
Right on target.
My boy, this piece is what all true warriors strive for.
You'll feel this one.
Yes.
My best.
Going in for them again.
I refuse to die yet.
I have your back.
Stroll got knocked out. Can anyone get him back on his feet?
With healing power.
He's making
Sword master.
He needs healing now.
Alright. Didn't even need to.
Why? Why? I trained so much for this. This isn't supposed
Dude,
to
that was
happen.
nothing. I thought that was at least going to be like a challenge. There's got to be some kind of trick here.
Good. Tis done. I'll strive for greater heights.
Excellent. I've grown more powerful.
I've lost.
Hey,
Listen to me.
well then.
I'll make it happen. But That's why. It just ain't right.
Sure.
Thanks.
She. Now. A new power.
I'm not letting anyone die.
As the shadows are stretched to their limits before darkness takes them, the Gauntlet Runner arrives in a balmy wetland. Nocturnal creatures who lay dormant beneath the fens in the light rise to seek out their prey. Meanwhile, the party rests their weary souls, fatigued by the long journey, under the protection of the Gauntlet Runner.
How many hand jobs would Adam Egret have had to give out to pay off Kamala Harris's campaign debt?
Oh, God, $15 a man. Well, according to 20 million divided by 15, my calculator is saying that is 1,333,334 hand jobs.
Yeah, that's going to be difficult.
What now?
Talk about carpal tunnel.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys, just a short session tonight. I'm going to be getting out of here shortly, so thanks for coming out. And next time I stream, we should at least have slightly more clarity in what's going to happen in Arizona. So we can check that out. All right.
Wait, hold on. I'm doing math for how long that would take to deliver 1,333,334 hand jobs.
Oh, okay.
So this is nonstop, by the way. According to Google, the average time that it takes for a man to ejaculate is about 7 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
If you multiply 7 minutes by 1,333,334, you end up with as many minutes as is the equivalent of 17.7 years of non-stop jacking off. If Kamala started right now and she literally never stops, which includes never being able to sleep, she'd finish when she's 77.
Well, I mean, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Maybe her volunteers.
Oh man, that is By the way, I think OnlyFans was around back in 2016, but a lot of people have made the joke because it's way more popular now than it was back in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
That they're like, well, sorry you lost the presidential election, but you know you can do what a lot of other women who fail to achieve their dreams do and start an OnlyFans.
Maybe.
Good heavens, bro! You love to see it.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys. See you guys later.